Hey, welcome to Cape Media News. This is Candid Candidates, and today I am joined by Liz Argo, candidate for Select Board in the town of Yarmouth. Liz, thank you for joining us today.
Hello, nice to be here.
We're talking with all the candidates about just who you are, where you're from, a little bit about you, the background for people that may not know who you are. So what can you tell us about Liz?
Well, first off, I was born in Orleans, and my parents came in 1950 to start a summer theater. So they started the Orleans Arena Theater in 1950. That lasted for 26 years, and it's now the Academy of Performing Arts. But back in its heyday, it was America's first summer stock theater in the round. And I'll just fast forward. I am a videographer as well. So I made a movie about that, and that's on PBS, and you can also find it on YouTube. It's called Stage Struck, Confessions from Summer Stock Theater. So I was raised in the theater, but I realized early in my teenage years that wasn't going to be lucrative, and I decided to go into the film business. Okay. I moved to New York, and I had a great career in the film business for something like 20 years. I came back to Cape Cod when my marriage fell apart with two children, my daughter Lacey and my son John. I started a video production company, and I was very happy to have done work for the Cape Cod 5-Cent Savings Bank, the VNA, the Visiting Nurse Association, the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce, Cape Cod Community College. So my roster of clients was terrific, and it was a great career. And one of the jobs that I had was to go to Denmark to look at the offshore wind farms. That was when the offshore wind farm, Cape Wind, was being proposed for Nantucket Sound. So I went to Denmark with my equipment and interviewed people and witnessed their offshore wind farm, which would have been very similar to the Nantucket Sound wind farm. I came back and made those movies. But while I was doing all of that, I got very intrigued with renewable energy. So I decided in about 2006 that I had had enough of shuffling equipment and making movies, and as we used to call it, running and gunning with a camera on your shoulder. So I made a very broad jump into renewable energy. I applied for a job with a company in Rhode Island called Solar Rights. They picked me up. I became their South Coast and Cape Cod representative. At that time, I sold 250 kilowatts of solar energy and a 100 kilowatt turbine that still operates at Nantucket High School. Wow. That was my start in renewable energy. And at the time, the Cape Light Compact was in the process of starting a spin-off organization called the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative. And Maggie Downey, who is still in charge of the Cape Light Compact, asked me to be a consultant and look at all the capped landfills that are across the Cape and Martha's Vineyard that were fallow. They were mature enough to do something with, but not to build on particularly. So she had thought, brilliant lady that she is, that solar would be a terrific solution for utilizing those capped landfills. So I did a comprehensive report on how much land there was on the capped landfills and how much solar it could support and so on. And that was my beginning with the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative. And you may know now that if you pass any of the capped landfills on Cape Cod or Martha's Vineyard, we were successful in putting on solar. And that brought 332 megawatts of solar energy to the Cape and Martha's Vineyard, which is nothing to be sniffed at. We did a great job, and it has saved the towns an awful lot of money in that their electricity bills were reduced, and now their capped landfills are production centers rather than sitting there and being a good home for the seagulls.
And so the shift from the film world to renewable energy, what was the shift from renewable energy now to be interested in politics and in running for local office?
In my work with the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative, I was very interactive with the towns because those were my clients, essentially. I was going to the towns and the town administrators and the select boards and saying, you have a capped landfill, let us, the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative, put out a request for proposals to the field of solar installer companies and find the right solar installation company for the project and manage that for you. And the towns were more than happy to have the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative do that for them. We had a great team of lawyers at CVEC, and between my management and the lawyers, we made the towns very comfortable with getting these projects done. And it was early in the field, so it was not something that towns would have been good at. There was a lot to learn. By having a central agency run it for the towns, that was very shrewd, very, very smart, because that way you didn't have to have a whole staff person dedicated to doing it. But so being the executive director of the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative, I would make presentations to all the select boards once a year. I was in and out of town administrators' offices with the contracts, helping the town administrators understand the contracts, working with the town's lawyers on the contracts and so on. And then when construction started, I was still very much the person that the towns would call when there was a problem, when there was a question about the taxes on the land, and so on. So I became very known to the towns, and I became very knowledgeable about town process and town politics and the personalities as well. But I wanted to get back into town politics because I feel Yarmouth is at a tremendous opportunity crossroads right now. The town of Yarmouth is special because it's home to a greater population than most of the Cape towns. And it still has the growth in the off season as well, or as the on season, I guess I should say, the tourist season. And we have an issue with Route 28. It's very unattractive, and a lot of it is some of the businesses are deserted now. So Yarmouth has taken the reins and passed the sewering financing, which was my inspiration for running. When I sat at that town meeting and witnessed the unanimous will of the people to go forward with protecting the Cape by putting in sewers, and the same town meeting, they passed a ban on to-go foods in plastics. That for me was the passion and the will of the people was my inspiration. And I, as I say, knowing that Route 28 is positioned now for big changes between the sewering, and it's also federally zoned as what's called an opportunity zone, meaning it's eligible for tax credits to developers. So I want to see us do it right. I'm very pleased to say I think we have a top drawer town planner in Kathy Williams and our community development, Karen Green. So I have met with them, and Mary Wagans is also a terrific resource in Yarmouth. She's running the housing development program, and I went over that very carefully, and I think we do, as all of Cape Cod, have a housing problem along with our water issues, and I think Route 28 can be a solution.
You kind of touched on it a little bit, but how do you see yourself fitting into the existing lineup of the select board?
How would I fit in with the current Yarmouth Select Board? I think very well, because I'm proud to say that when I have an issue that maybe is not something that the consensus agrees with, I believe in bridges, not barriers. So working with the Select Board members, or on any committee. I also sit on the Old Kings Highway Historic Committee in Yarmouth, and I used to sit on the Library Planning Committee in Yarmouth. And I'm proud to say that my success on those committees is due to not digging in heels and entrenching and becoming emotional about issues. Now, that said, I'm not going to give in to things I don't believe in, and that's the beauty of the fact that we have a vote. So I will always vote my heart and my conscience, But I think the select board will be very well rounded with the members that are currently on it. Mark Forrest and Tracy have been the leaders on the select board for a long time. I look forward to working with them. And Dorcas is an incredible researcher with great talent in digging through and knowing what's going on in the town and what's important to the town. For instance, when we will have an issue coming up at the December 9th Select Board Special Town Meeting, and Dorcas was very, very strong about a retraction or not a retraction, an extending of the timeline for a decision that was made by the town at a Springtown meeting on the plastics, the to-go containers. Mm-hmm. And she almost voted not to change give the opportunity for the townspeople to change the timeline on that, because she felt so strongly that the town has spoken. Mm-hmm. In the end, she reluctantly realized that we do need a little bit more time to find out how to enforce that ban. So there are strong personalities, but they are all working together. And I think that's key. And I look forward to being involved with a board with such strong personalities and emotions that are kept in check, in rein. So I think it could be an incredibly dynamic select board. And I've had the pleasure of reaching out to some of the earlier select board members, and they're enthusiastic that I join, because they agree that the makeup of the select board, if I get voted in, would be very dynamic.
Right. And then just to kind of wrap things up, is there anything that you think that residents need to know about you that we haven't talked about today?
One thing that I want to make a note of, I have been labeled a liberal, and in some ways I think that's a mischaracterization, because my platform and my signs say sustainability, but I don't believe that that's points to my being a liberal. I think I am an environmentalist, and that is a sustainability piece of sustainability. But sustainability also means that we have to have business and commercial enterprise in the town, and we need to have a balanced population. We need to have young people as well as old people in Yarmouth, and we need to make sure that that happens. So my platform of sustainability goes out across having good schools, having clean water, having good businesses and opportunities. So I was sort of taken aback when somebody in the town labeled me as a liberal. I would say that that's a mischaracterization.
All right. Well, Liz, thank you so much for sitting down with us today, and good luck in the election next weekend. And everybody, get out and vote on December 7th.
Yes, I think that's a big one. Please get out and vote, because it's your town.